Oh, no, yeah, that wouldn't be good.
Jason said, give us some
Does
questions.
it pick up our audio that far away?
That's what I said. I'm like, is there a reason for I'll take that.
That's what he said. Szpunar agrees, they all look fine. Just roll with it.
I may tag team Carl and Dustin in up here. I'm the old guy.
We're gonna wait just a minute or two because there was 800 people still up on us.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, if you're behind the camera, you have to keep an eye and make sure it keeps recording. Sometimes it stops. Thank you.
Yeah.
Only when I point it. Then you should go stop the recording.
Absolutely.
That was actually fun. It was an experience.
Right.
How would you answer these? If you were interviewed.
That's right.
You can have one. Seriously. Seriously, you can have one.
He said one. He said you could have one.
No, it's serious.
It's pretty stingy, just one bar.
Are you going for the same invisible?
I didn't hear you
over
offering
here?
He said, or you can
You guys kept having to say, where there's people over here.
Yeah, he didn't offer anything. Big difference.
I'm all the way on this side. I'm all the way over here, so my tendency is going to be to look this way.
Yeah.
So I have to rely on him to be able to do this
I
way.
know.
We need to put some pan in it. Pan it in.
Warm in here? It is a little stuffy in here.
I think you're right.
I love how squeaky that door is.
And you-
That's my favorite part.
And then when you let it close.
And every time it opens, your natural reflex is you have to look, right? I can't not.
So the next time it opens, everybody walks.
Right, yeah. Then they're shaking on it, I can't get in.
It's the awkward, you open the door and everybody's looking at your
Right,
like,
exactly.
sorry?
We should just
We should just like, we should do
Whoever
our
comes
way.
in next, we just
Stop mid-sentence.
You made it.
Congratulations. Congratulations. Right.
Yes. You've all been warned.
Well, welcome to the MSP panel. A little note, if you were here for like highly technical discussion, this is not the place where we're going to be talking highly technical discussion.
There we go.
And that's because Dean was like,
I'm out.
He's gonna tag someone else in.
We'll take those. Yeah, if you ask a technical question, I gotta tag somebody in. Be WWE. We'll be coming off the top rope.
it would be fun to have like wrestling moves, you know, like tag in, tag
I'd
out.
break a hip if I come off the top rope here.
You want technical, just time travel yesterday when we had the other session.
Yeah. You missed the cybersecurity one. That had a lot of technical stuff in it.
This is gonna be very
This is
disruptive.
the best panel ever.
It's gonna be fantastic.
This is the best panel ever.
To all you at home,
Yeah.
missing out.
Filters are broad. Everybody gets around.
Far less invisible. So what I had put in the kind of description for this to like help your questioning as we move forward was, are you curious about working with a church-focused MSP on a project or longer-term engagement? What are the benefits of using a church-focused MSP? And I'll kind of stick there for a second. There are other MSPs that obviously you can use or not use. These fine gentlemen, we'll put quotes around fine, these fine gentlemen are people that I have known for, several of them 20 years, most of them at least 15. At Granger Community Church, I've done projects with practically every one of them. They've been in the CITN community for, well, since it's been around, September 2006 when I started this thing. So they're known quantities. I know their heart. I know that although these guys work for different MSPs, they have a heart of what Dean calls co-opetition. So they share information with each other. They actually love each other, brotherly love.
Yeah.
Could be a stretch. Jonathan,
That's why we're having to sit beside each other.
right? Yeah. But I fully trust these guys. They know what they're doing, and they have a heart for ministry first, rather than they're just out to get dollars. And I don't believe that about any of these guys, that they truly care about the dollars at the end of the day. It's like, how can we help the Big C Church? And they want to help you succeed. And so there you go. So we're gonna talk. We're gonna discuss about ways to, just all things MSP. Just not. We'll defer the highly technical stuff, or you can come up and ask them those questions afterwards. So why don't we start off with each of you just giving a little bit about a little tiny snippet about your company, your position within the company, just something along those lines, right?
Sure. I'm Travis Phelps with Enable Ministry Partners. We do full service, managed service provider. So for some clients, we are the entire IT department. For many clients, we are a part of the IT department. And what part that makes up differs and varies based on what the needs of the different clients are and what the situations are. We have been doing church IT for 24 years, is that right, Chris? Something like that. Yeah, that's us.
David Szpunar with Server 42 from Central Indiana, and we have a lot of similar offerings. We do everything from the full sole IT provider to co-manage with internal resources at some of our clients. We work with a lot of churches, both local and remote, and we've also been around, 18 years or so in the church IT group when I worked for a church initially, and have continued to support and really love the community ever since. So happy to be here and bring more of the team in the back row. Got a few of the team members with this time, so we're happy to be here.
They've got planted heckler.
We brought our
questions.
We all have
I'm seeing established corporate hecklers.
So I'm Dean Lisenby. ACS Technologies is my background, 33 years there. So that's why I told Jason, I'm like, if you get too technical, I'm not gonna be able to hang with these guys up here. But we acquired Higher Ground IT, I don't know, 5 years ago, 4.5, almost 5 years ago. As part of our ministry platform acquisition. It just made sense because Higher Ground does all the hosting for ministry platform, which also put us in the managed IT business. My background is IT. I managed our internal IT teams for 20 plus years. So just probably the newer of the group. For me, I feel new to the MSP space, even though Higher Ground's been around for over 20 years. So Tom Duffin was the previous owner and was ready to retire. So Kevin Brunson, some of you recognize that name. He's still with the company, doing well. Just not represented here today, but yeah, Carl and Dustin here on the front row for our second, third row, wherever it is. Here, if you have any technical questions, they're your people.
My name is Jonathan Smith. I'm with MBS Worldwide.
International.
I wear two hats, and I've been serving at my church as the Director of Technology since 2001, so I was very excited in 2006 to get involved with the Church IT Network. Much like Dean's story, my predecessor, MBS was started in 1986 and has been serving churches, only churches and ministries, and he decided to retire and thought it was a good idea for me to get involved. I said no. He said, which what all Christian people say when you're wrong, well, let's pray about it. So we did, and God moved things. And so now I wear two hats. I serve as, still at my church on staff there, that I serve MBS. Again, like everybody else has said, we do a lot of the same things. We serve churches the way they want to be served, and what Jason mentioned, my goal at the end of every day is to make sure the kingdom is being impacted. It's great that I get to do that at Faith at my church in Indiana, but it's also great to get to do that at churches across planet Earth.
I'm Chris Green, Director of Technology for BEMA Information Technologies, based out of Houston, Texas. Also, as we said, church focused, that's who we are. Very similar to what everybody has said. We do everything from being just an extension of your team, whether that's projects, design, helping you out with specialized needs, to being the entire IT department on the other end. Most of the organizations coming to an event like this, they don't need that. They need something that fits an area where it does not make sense for the church to staff or resource, and that's where we typically are engaging more with the CITN churches. Fun fact, the reason that Travis looked down here at me to clarify on the 24 years is we were once the same company. So we started out as Celerant in the beginning, so now we have Enable and BEMA as two separate entities, starting from that same desire to serve churches. I got the privilege of hiring him many years ago.
Have you inspired?
Well, I have to. I have to. We just kind of separated. So.
That's why you're down here.
That's right. That's right. We appreciate the wall.
And Dean's in the middle to keep the peace.
I'm trying.
Well, let's just cut right to the chase. Are you guys out to take our jobs?
Heck no.
Yes.
Yours?
Do you want us to?
Yes, no, yes.
Blink twice.
Who's asking?
That's AI.
So here's how I would answer that is, we all joked about it and even said, do you want us to? For some, we have come in because specifically the person in your position was thinking about their future and what that meant for them, but they wanted to make sure the church was cared for. And so we have been brought in, specifically with the mindset that they're going to get engaged as a partner for a year or 4 or 5 or whatever, because their transition plan was to move more to a managed service model instead of in-house. So that does happen. But I would say by and large, most of the partnerships that we have, the co-managed environments, I think we all use that terminology, that's not our heart. That's not our job. Our goal is to help augment and to help you fill the gaps that you have and the needs that you have. We want to partner with you and work with you. Frankly, for a lot of you, it's easier for us if you're around, because you know your church, you know your vision, you know the ministry, you know the people. You can help us be more successful for you if you're there and being an integral part of collaborating with us.
I think part of the challenge when that comes up, we get called in a lot of the times, and I mean this kindly, you're all my best friends, when the IT on-prem is failing. One of the most awkward situations I get put in is when IT leadership or whoever's in charge of an organization calls us up and says, look, we've got problems, come in and do an audit, look at what we're doing, but don't tell the IT guy why you're here because we're probably going to get rid of them. Am I out to get that person's job? No, I believe that person has laid the foundation for what's about to happen for the last 6 months, 12 months, couple of years. So there is an encouragement, if you're serving in a church and you're struggling, which you want to get behind and get in that position, or do you want to resource yourself up right now by engaging with somebody outside that might help you get to the spot where we're taking you to the next level, as opposed to being told, evaluate us, evaluate this person, and help us know what's best, because that does those are very awkward situations when I'm interviewing somebody I know is going to lose their job. So don't view that as us or anybody coming after you. View that as, I need to really do my thing well and get those resources before leadership realizes that we're in trouble.
I'll add to that it's one of the reasons that we really enjoy being involved in this community, because we're here to give you all that information. If there's a point where a relationship with us is needed for you to do your job better or for your church to be more successful, we're here. But we also want to be teaching you all the things to avoid your leadership having to call us to help you. But to the point of an audit, the first thing our team's going to do if we walk in an audit and there is a team is ask you of all the things that you've been trying to do for the last 2, 3, 4 years that you've been told no on, to understand the history of where you're going, because sometimes you need that outside voice to help drive things that you already know you need to do.
And don't be afraid if you say the same thing and one of us says it and they believe us and not you. I realize it makes you feel bad. Take the win. The win is you got what you wanted. And yes, you had to pay somebody maybe to come in and repeat yourself, or just, I mean, I've taken emails from folks and put my signature on it and said, do this, and they take the win. Don't live in the, well, I had to have somebody validate, because I work at Faith. You realize at Faith, nobody listens to Jonathan from either hat.
Nope, people at my
That's why
church,
we
I have to call Dean and say, Dean, will you tell Faith the same thing? It's crazy. Or David's just down the road, hey, will you drive up here and tell these people?
I mean, I am everything tech at my church. I am the lead of the technical production team. I'm the lead of all the volunteers. I'm a deacon over technology. I'm literally the deacon of technology. They make IT decisions and then say, hey, can you implement this? Do what? I literally do this for my job. So don't feel bad.
I'll add that, just, you know, kind of like the AI craze right now, if your head's not on a swivel around AI, it's obvious we can't keep up as individuals with all the things going on out there. So you really do need a team of people. And you can either build that team yourself, or you can work with one of us, and we come along beside of you. I like to call it, we give you your superpower. So it's, you are still up front.
I've got
Am I
to write
looking?
it down. Send it to marketing people.
You know, you're up front, you're the ones there, we wanna make you look good. If, to Travis's point, it's time for you to retire, or it's, you know, it's just time for you to move on and you wanna leave the church in good hands, sure, we'll take it all. I think every one of us can do that. But we wanna be there with you, really to superpower you, not to, take it.
Questions?
So to put a twist a little bit on the being asked to come in and do an audit from, you know, someone outside the IT department, what if, as the IT department, we have an MSP or something like that, and we would like an audit of,
A third opinion.
yeah, how would you handle that?
Like you just said, I mean, like, we do third opinions all the time.
Yeah.
Nothing, I mean, we're all friends, so we're not trying to take anybody else's stuff either. Now, if I come in and you ask us to audit somebody local who doesn't specialize in church ministries, I'm gonna gut them like a fish.
Yeah.
Sorry, did that come out right?
Either not intentionally, the truth of the matter is, you bring in somebody who has domain or vertical expertise, well, we better be better at church IT than the MSP that also does healthcare and gas stations and whatever else, right? I mean, this is what we specialize in. So if we're not better, let us know.
You're very wise to do that, because it helps your leadership team say, hey, we're not resting on our laurels. You know, why does your financial team, I hope, get financial audits all the time? At some point, you do have to get a third-party financial audit. There's no obligation, but you gotta audit the auditor who watches the watcher. So in the IT realm, every 3 to 5 years, it's a reasonable thing. We have clients where that's all we do for them. We come in and we are that third party. We're just doing an evaluation of the local team and who they're using. We disappear, and then 5 years later, somebody calls and say, we can do that again because we got some compliance to do. So there's lots of ways to utilize that to make you look like, hey, we're not sitting back. We're making sure we're on top of it.
Well, and to second that, I mean, again, back to the analogy, we can't keep up with everything. Like, even the best of us miss things at times, right? I mean, I welcome another set of eyes. So that's why we do cybersecurity risk analysis on our web apps, because it's changing every day. Somebody's plugging something in, unplugging stuff. Things are changing. You can't always control it. You just need a second set of eyes to look at stuff. So there's no harm in that, in my opinion.
And just for context, you know, we're up here as MSPs, right? Well, it's an industry term. We all fit in this box. The definition of an MSP is pretty broad. And in our industry, there is a drive for MSPs to sell you everything. There are MSPs out there that are expecting you to pay $200-300 plus a user every month, and they give you the world. We, as church-focused MSPs, all come at this in a completely different way. Our goal is all to make a very good living while giving you all the things you need to be successful and protect you, and not do that. And so a lot of times, you know, there's some little MSPs that are trying to get by and just do the bare minimum. We've lost business to MSPs that we know 100% aren't doing any of the things that we do, just because they were cheaper. And as ones who are focused on trying to give you the lowest price we can and still protect you, sometimes that's scary, because I watch a church move to a copier company that's the hot stuff in the area, And we know they're not doing anything. They just call us if you have a problem, versus very proactive, which everyone up here is doing.
You want to make sure, broad-wise, as Chris mentioned, your MSP has more than one client. I'm a dumb IT guy, and I have to tell people, look, it's W-2 work, not 1099 if they only have one client. Or you have two clients. I mean, there's a line there, so if you're going to look at other MSPs, and you're going to look local and things of that nature, just be willing to drill into more trusting what they tell you in terms of, is that true? Because we've been in situations where we got to get rid of the local MSP, and then we talk to them, we find out, because they don't know that we're coming in for that at that moment, that they're the only client the church has. Well, what they have, that's not an MSP, that's
It's an IT guy.
a W-2 employee.
Right. Well, and keep in mind, you can ask those questions too around like how many technicians do you have in the company? Like there's a, you know, if the company is sales heavy, like, oh look, all we have is salespeople, and there's a couple techs that answer the phones once in a while. Like they're not likely to be doing quite the same level as if they have. I mean, I'm not saying that there shouldn't be sales, because sales is an important part of business growth, but you know, there needs to be some technical background also actually there to do the work and provide support, answer the phone, you know, work through all those
Technical
systems.
people, you say, I need to write that down too.
Somebody other than Dean needs to also be at the company.
Learning so much.
Glad we could teach you how to be an MSP.
This is fantastic. I had no idea.
He's building his next presentation.
Yeah, I'm 245, anyway.
I saw third half.
Yeah.
But he was next.
So in a situation where there's, say, like in our case, we have a church that also has a small college and seminary on site.
Okay.
If I was gonna be looking to contract with one of you or a different MSP, how does that change things, if at all? How do I approach that with you or with that other company?
We work with quite a few. I mean, so many churches have schools. Several of our churches have seminaries. And it all depends organizationally how you function. Some of them, they're one entity and they function as one and all the staff is the same across them. Some of them, they're very discrete, separate things for various reasons. And so when we engage, that's part of the collection, that's part of the conversation of determining how we best support you. Sometimes it's as simple as how are you gonna be billed, right? It's one thing,
Right.
but oh, if we work on this, the bill has to go to this, like it gets complicated sometimes. But that's the business side of what we do. We'll worry about that in the conversation.
Pretty much. I mean, it's from an IT perspective or from an RMM perspective. It's, you know, it's a computer, it's a network, it's a switch. So we have to be
Very good using those words correctly.
We just crammed at lunch. A few keywords, but yeah. To his point, a lot of it is just literally how the organization's set up.
And we spend a lot of time in that world, so we also dig into the nuance of how are you supposed to be licensed. Quite frankly, a lot of times when we step in, and it's been very volunteer driven, or you've had an IT guy, sometimes we find out that, you know, hey, we're using nonprofit licensing for the school, or school licensing for the nonprofit, and you get into some weird areas where we have to make sure that it's being done and compliant and done well. And so there's a lot of that where having some background knowledge can help you.
There's a lot of cases with schools as well. I know maybe not as much college, but I know with some of the grade schools that we've supported that having somebody, that's a really good case for a co-managed environment in many cases, where if a teacher is teaching a class, having somebody with some technical knowledge on site to be able to answer a question while they're literally in the midst of teaching a class or having a projector break or something is very beneficial, even if we're still handling the overall organizational IT. There can be some benefits there too, because we can't necessarily solve a projector problem over the phone while a class
Well,
is
you
happening.
can't, I can.
Third hat.
Yeah, third head. Teleportation.
I want to take a different angle to something that Chris was pointing out, that the other thing I would encourage you to think about, if you're in a situation where you have unique aspects, right, whatever that is, unique structure that might drive a different billing arrangement or whatever else, my advice to you is be willing to listen to the partners that you're talking to about how they think it might work best. Don't be so set in your ways that it has to be your way. Because I will tell you that while we love to serve the church, and you heard us all say we want to fit what your need is, sometimes we can serve you better if we can serve you the way we're more familiar with and are already doing it multiple other places successfully, than if we try to customize what we're doing for your very niche, specific line of how you want it to be. Look, if it really is important that it be the way you need it to be, we totally respect and we understand that. But I will tell you, one of the places we find tension with working with clients and potential clients often is where they are just adamant that it has to be this way and this is the only way it can be. And that can be a challenge for us sometimes, to be able to give our best.
Sometimes that can be reflected in the pricing too, because the
100%.
part of what an
will-
MSP does
yeah.
is we do things in an efficient way repeatably, and that does involve custom support and custom scenarios, but the more we have to customize a particular offering, there's overhead costs that we have to absorb and work through in that process as well. So like, we may be able to do something custom, but it might also cost more than if we can do the thing that we're more familiar with, that we're designed to do more efficiently.
Great point.
That transitions into my question well. We went from an organization of, a larger, not a larger, but a IT team of say 8, who were very specialized. We had specialists in each field, to right sizing over the last couple of years to now like 3.5 generalists.
Yeah.
And so I would say none of us are real experts in
those
everything.
domains.
So how does an MSP benefit someone, an organization like ours, where we might just need gap fill in specialization?
Yeah, so
No.
that in this group, again, with the CITN churches, that's often our engagement, right? And again, you guys are here, your churches value you being here. You have an IT budget. You are already doing a lot of the things that we have to fight battles at the little guys, right? That's an example where very often we're being brought in saying, hey, we no longer have somebody who understands infrastructure. We only upgrade our infrastructure every 7 to 10 years anyway. Why in the world would I have an expert in network infrastructure? So we have relationships where we're managing the network infrastructure, we're managing the server infrastructure, but your team is focused on the impact to ministry, the things that are forward facing, where you are working with your end users, you're keeping that stuff on, and we're just keeping the lights on for you. We're keeping everything working, or dealing with the security side of things where you don't have the expertise, you need somebody to deal with that.
And if you had a one-off project kind of thing, you'd step into those scenarios
Exactly.
as well.
Yeah, that's that recurring feeding. Hey, we're already budgeting next year. Usually when you're involved with an MSP, there's a planning aspect. We're always looking ahead. We're helping you ahead of budget season. These are the things that are coming up in the next year. Whether it's firewall removals, renewals or replacements, network infrastructure refreshes, cloud projects, changes to licensing, trying to look ahead in areas where you're not even thinking.
Can I go?
You can.
Don't argue, I'm going to talk.
Is there, when you're done, can I go? Oh, you're. I'll put my faith hat on. I was a solo shop for 17 years at Faith. I got MBS involved not long before me getting involved, because I couldn't be good at everything. And there were the one-offs that we needed to deploy a VMware update, and I didn't want to learn it. I knew enough to get it done, but I didn't want to go through the endless. So I brought an MSP in to upgrade my facilities, upgrade my abilities, because I knew they had width and depth that I couldn't have or afford as a church. And then that transitioned into me getting involved with MBS, but I think that's a good benefit for anybody, is to get a partner that can give you that, because why pay for the one-offs all year long? Why do you need to know that specific stack of technology or software when I could have learned it, but the MBS guys did it in an hour, it taken me 3 days. It's just that kind of, have that partner to resource you up in those things that you don't do very often. Now you can go.
I was just gonna say, Jonathan was.
You can't make it up.
Jonathan's just busy working on preparing his Windows talk for the next year, so he's focusing on Windows and not VMware.
I don't think I can add value.
I'm sorry. I'm out.
What Jonathan said is what I was going to say. You kind kind of asked the question, we've been talking about it and alluding to it as if this is a partnership where we're with you every day, you're paying us on a monthly basis or something like that. Is that our heart's desire? Yes. Do we think we can serve you best when we're in it with you on a constant basis? Yes, I'll be honest. But that's not the only way we serve churches. Every one of us will do one-off projects, similar to the way Jonathan just described it. Do we think it's beneficial if we still have that partnership and we know who you are, and the next time you ask for another project 6 months later, we've got some established rapport? Of course. You could price shop us. You could have all of us quote the same project for you every time you go to do it. I will tell you that that is going to be a challenge for you just as much as it would be a challenge for us. Because if we have to learn you and your environment every time we engage with you, to David's point, that's going to cost you more because it's going to spend more of our time. So that
And
would
we
just be-
compare notes on you all.
publicly.
That has happened.
There's a private support group just for us, right? Have you heard of these people? And then you get this, no, great pass. I mean, we
You say the quiet things out loud.
Hey, that was just for us. Oh man, just a quick ad. I will say, I believe my memory's getting a little soft these days, to be honest with you. But I believe, to prove the point, one-offs really. I had an IT team at one time that was 20-something people strong, and I still paid 2 of these guys to come in and do one-off projects. David's been on our property, and so has Chris Green, to do different projects, because to Jonathan's point, unless I'm going to do this over and over, I'm not interested in it. I'm just not interested
the
in it.
brain power just ain't there.
It's just not there anymore. And really, I don't even want to pay my people to do that. Like, they have a job to do, so why am I going to burden them with something they don't really know? Let's bring somebody else in. So we do it even as a company when we have our own MSP now. So.
I'm wondering if you guys would mind speaking into some of the relationships that you have with tool providers like out there, and as you're engaging with different churches who do ministry in different ways, like how that informs the way that you make recommendations.
That's a really good question.
Yeah, I mean, I think
It could
every
be really dangerous.
every MSP has their own preferred stack of tools that they're
This is where we
using.
stop recording, right?
Yeah, right.
We can talk in generalities without
I
naming
mean,
names.
every single one of us up here is using some of the same tools and some different tools. They all serve the same basic purposes because we're all trying to implement technology, and that's what the tools do at the end of the day. Generally speaking, the MSPs tend to focus on tools that can support multiple clients under the same agreement, and those might be slightly different than some tools that individual organizations might use more frequently that aren't focused on the multi-customer service model. It doesn't mean they're better or worse necessarily. It's just a different model, and there's overlap between there as well. I know Ninja One is here with IT1. We also use Ninja One for one of our tools because they support both direct internal IT departments and MSPs. So there's really an MSP will do their best work when they are able to use the tools that they already know and can offer or work with the best, but it doesn't mean that we can't function within what your environment looks like in a particular scenario when it makes sense, especially during a project or during an ongoing support engagement. It just depends on what works best in your area.
Was your question more around like that, or more around like other partner stuff out there?
Well, I know you guys carry a portfolio of tools,
Sure.
and I know they're preferred for some situations over others, and I know that not every church who you engage with is going to be a good fit for those tools. So that's more of where the question is, somewhere in that.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I think these are the tools we use as an MSP, right? So I'm going to have a security monitoring tool that I use. I'm going to have an EDR solution I use. I have my RMM tool, Ninja. We have our PSA where we do all of our billing and time tracking. That's our core tools, the things that we use. And if we're managing your systems, they're going to be in there, right? Because that's where we're using them. And so there's not so much as a fit thing. I think that when we get outside of that tool set, you start to get into, we have lots of experiences and preferences, and we can give you our opinions and consult with you. But at the end of the day, some of those are, you're using X, and that's the one. We could sometimes get into advising, you know, hey, what giving platforms? You're like, well, I can give you our experiences, but we don't sell or recommend them. We just can give you our experiences just like everybody in this community.
Would you also say you tend to lean toward the tools that like to work through MSPs as opposed to vendors that tend to work behind your back and sell to your customer?
So,
Wow.
to David's
MSPs.
yeah, to David's point, is the tools that we're going to choose in the sense of them being oriented to MSPs. There is some truth to that, because if I install a tool that when I deploy it for you and then I deploy it for Jason and I drop it on all these things and now I have to go log into a separate system to manage every one of them, the answer is they're just not going to get managed efficiently. I have to have systems that either intrinsically to the core are designed to have top-down management, or then we're going to have to build some sort of tool that's hitting them all with APIs and doing crazy stuff, and we don't want to do that.
And then you can't afford it.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, I can't speak for everybody's pricing models, but our pricing models are built to try to keep the costs as low as possible by using the tools that we find to be as good as we can get for putting it in package A. You know, like you can spend as much money as you want to spend on this stuff because it's out there. I mean, there's tons of opportunity to spend it, but we also got to be mindful of some of it's just waste, right? You can just keep adding. So we're trying to bundle it appropriately, keep your costs as low as possible. But if you need a certain tool, you need a certain thing covered, I think all of us would go outside of our, bundles, if you will.
I think you also want to ask who owns it. I mean, our models, we all get along, but our models are different.
Yeah.
My model is we sell time and you own everything. I don't install a stack. We have recommendations, but we want you to own it. That way, if we make you mad and you leave, which you're welcome to at any point, and you go to Chris, you own everything you've got. Now, Chris may throw it away and say that's the worst thing I've ever heard of, and start you over again, which is fine. There's a difference when you go down, and this is especially true when you're not working with a provider that specializes in churches, where part of your fee is this top level thing where here's all the stuff on your devices. They're not serving you well. You want to leave, and you just have a gap now because all of your stuff vanished. So my model is because I think of this, what would Jonathan from Faith want? Jonathan and Faith wants to own it all. I want access to it, and I want to own it, so if you're not doing your thing, I can move and keep my thing going if you're not keeping up. Those are some important, beyond who we would partner with out there. Your question is valid, Sheldon, about I don't need Ninja One undercutting me to anybody else. To me, it's more who owns it, and if it's something that I can maintain long term if something changes, because we get the phone call all the time. The local guy can't keep up anymore. It takes him 8 hours to call me back. But if I get rid of him after 90 days notice, because I've got a 2-year contract, he's going to take everything with him now. Or her, let me balance that out. Him or her, I'm sorry.
So building on that, quite often, again, picking on the MSPs outside of this community, our tool to stack, when we talk about our tools, that's the tools that we use to do our job. That's not really something we're selling you. But there are a lot of MSPs that, oh great, here's all your stuff, and now you're doing your remote access all through us, all this stuff, and then you part ways, and hey, we lost our VPN, I can't get in anymore, what happened? Well, that was a product from your previous MSP.
Our security software hasn't updated in 6 months.
Right, yeah.
They turned off your stuff.
Yeah, and so there's definitely a lot of that thought into the tool selections and what you making sure that they're not leaving you high and dry if you part ways, and make sure the contracts are friendly.
I'm going to take a different tack on answering that I think is in the spirit of what you were asking. There are several vendors represented here that do the same things, right? So, and you kind of said this earlier, do we have experience with several of them? Yes. Can we tell you about those experiences that our other clients have had? Absolutely. And if we're not, then frankly, we're not doing our job for you. Part of what you should be getting from an MSP is consultation about things, not just do this project or fix this thing. You really should listen to our experiences and even our opinions, even if you don't agree with them. That would be my advice to you. That is part of the benefit of working with someone who does have experience across a lot of clients that are using a lot of these various tools in different ways.
Strategy.
So if you want to know which church management system is the best, I'm just kidding.
Well, clearly.
Which of the three, team?
There's a hand back here somewhere.
It's Szpunar's peanut.
Moving on, moving on.
The corporate heckler wanted to interject a question.
Perfect.
Oh, I
We
forgot.
ignored that
Lance.
hand on
Yeah,
purpose.
so the tools question, I think, is a great opportunity for the panel to speak to where the line gets drawn between production and operations and IT, and how the MSP role fits into that, and what tools fall outside of the scope of an MSP.
You thought that was a good idea?
Yeah.
I feel like
I
that's
know
a,
the panel
He's
is
going
here.
first. Answer your guy's question, man.
I mean, it definitely is a balance with every church to figure out where that line is, but there, as, production, systems are more and more IT related, and I think many people here are probably involved in both of those aspects, of their church, in the production and the IT side, and production is usually better resourced, honestly, because that's the thing that produces the weekend services that everybody, it funds the rest of the operation during the week, for better or worse. So, there's definitely an important and symbiotic relationship that has to be established there, and working with a partner who is at least familiar with that. As part of one of the benefits of working with a church-focused MSP is that there is a lot more production experience in those environments, generally speaking. So there can be a little bit more friendly cooperation rather than tension sometimes between the production teams and the IT teams. Whether that line is blurred or more well-defined is very, it changes a lot depending on the church and what the structure looks like, but it's important to have those discussions and understand who's responsible for what, when, if a production system goes down on the weekend, is that something that your MSP that's doing support is able to jump in and take care of? Or because they're not physically there, they probably can't get there before the service ends. So do you need to have some sort of alternate, backup plan that you can implement, and then maybe come in and work on something during the week to solve the long-term problem? So there's a balance in how you structure that.
That whole area has been an area that I've tried to push church IT for years to have stronger relationships in there. And that's also what we as BEMA and Enable and everybody else has done for years, is trying to get in there. And sometimes it's very hard for the church IT team, whether it's us or you, to even get to the table for those conversations. What we've seen over the last several years is that the highest demand on the network has shifted from being, I need to get guests on Wi-Fi and I've got all these security concerns on my network, to now the highest demand on the network is the AVL production team. And then you add the additional tension to that when there's a problem on Sunday, they need the flexibility and the ability to fix the problem in the moment, not call an MSP and us come on Monday, right? No, this is a right now fix. This is a real-time requirement. And so we've done a lot more work in consulting and being at the table with the integrators or the IT or the AVL teams to design infrastructure that they can self-support and they can self-manage, and that teaching and getting them to understand and learn that stuff. And the same thing, consulting in the church IT teams and bringing them together and working together on those conversations. So that's an area that a church-focused MSP is very, very interested in solving those things. Because quite frankly, there's some pretty cool stuff going on those networks. You just have to look in that room over there to see that there's some crazy stuff going on in the networks. There's more network capacity attached to those LED walls than many of your buildings have.
Like literally that moves with them.
Brandon's got a session on it.
Yeah. I think I clapped a little bit of this. I don't like the term, the line.
Right.
I think I know MSPs have to make a line what are we supporting, what are we not, but I think the important thing is how you talk about it is really important, because
To me, it's
you're one organization.
Yeah.
So the more you're talking about the vision and lines, where does this go, where does that go?
Well, that's
And I'm not saying y'all answered it wrong.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm not offending, but
No, I agree with that 100%. If we're here to serve the church,
yeah.
who said production wasn't the church?
Right.
Who said operations wasn't? Who said IT? Like, that's the church, right? So, Some of us are old enough to remember when the phone network was different than the data IT network, and they converged, right? Y'all remember that?
He and Noah were tight.
I'll get my walk, somebody can help me out the stage. But, you know, I remember when they converged, and it was like, oh, the phone, you can't put the phone on the network. What's gonna happen with that? Well, the same issue here with AVL.
That's what you were saying.
These things are absolutely gonna converge, and we better race the line.
I think for me, the term that I as an MSP looking in is rules of engagement. Like there's a line, but the line is, hey, this box here, these are the things that follow our standards and practices. We're gonna patch all these things on Tuesday nights. We're able to reboot these things. All this stuff over here, I need to know your rules of engagement. Are these machines gonna be patchable or not patchable? Do we have to have a conversation before they're touched? You know, what does unmanaged mean versus managed in your world? And those are different for every organization. And MSPs, again, back to repeatable, you know, efficiency, where do we get those? By not having exceptions. But we also know that that is an area where every church does have some unique things.
Yeah, and I think the other confusing thing, this is not part of my talk, so I don't feel like I'm, you know, getting away, but is I think as MSPs you should be encouraging churches to not be, oh, you can't go touch that here.
Absolutely.
That's the gear that's gonna get you in trouble with your insurance company because it gets broken into. You've signed these papers saying I have this MSP that's done all this magical work for me, but guess what? It's not gonna help you because you haven't done it at the full scope of your organization. So
And for us, quite often, it's like, great, I understand this particular box here, these can't be patched, they can't be updated, great, so what are we doing to mitigate that? They're on a network, it doesn't talk to the internet, it can't reach other equipment. We have to have those conversations, and those are quite frankly, those are the conversations that are just beginning to happen with many of the AVL production teams. They're not thinking that way. That's not how they're wired. You know, the creatives they're not thinking about risk and liability and stuff like that. And then your business office, that's all they're thinking about, because everything is risk. It's a risk reward in every decision that we make. And so a lot of times we're the ones pushing that, or the insurance companies.
and your leadership thinks that you're handling it. They think, hey, I handed it off to you, you're leading it. But the reality is, I'm not real. I gotta be honest and say I'm not really, because I can't touch that stuff over there. So like that is the same thing we're deploying. So they need to have the same accountability in their stuff.
Quick point of clarity.
Go on a
I just
world
wanna
tour
add-
with me?
Yeah.
I am I announce myself as the corporate heckling peanut gallery person, because these are my friends up here. I use the word line intentionally because you're looking at a panel of bridge builders.
Right.
And so I'm lobbing softballs up there for the full transparency.
Give that
So
guy $25 gift card.
And before the next one, I'll just throw out the thing that we hate hearing the most when we go to tell somebody they need to do it. Well, aren't you already doing that for me? We lose sleep over that conversation.
And it's a good use of. It's a good use of an MSP too, to get that, not that your church does it, the church next to you has some dysfunction. Your MSP can maybe speak at the leadership level about it's a good use of a half hour of time to have somebody in a leadership discussion to say, here's some ways hitting the softball here, your operational organization can get better all the way down, that you haven't been able to do because you're on the inside versus having somebody with that breadth of experience saying the same thing.
So Jonathan, in that conversation.
Oh, don't ask me, ask me.
So panel, in that
Thank you.
conversation, so if you are engaging with church leadership about this topic, and you know, you as the MSP, do you come to leadership and say like, yeah, we have resident experts within our organization that can benefit your organization if your Dante goes down at this campus and you can't live stream on Sunday morning? And like, do you have that built in? And do you have those? How do you have those conversations?
You want me to answer? She's staring
I
at
said
me.
the panel, the panel.
She
Yeah.
called you by name.
I called you out.
She didn't just say, hey, panel. She started with Jonathan.
Yeah, well, usually I call Chris. No, I think for us, you know, I think we want to have, I call it leading up. I mean, there's a lot of ways when we get into an org. If we come in at your level, and I'm not being critical, we have to help you and we have to lead up too. If we're brought in up here, then we're already having these discussions with your leadership and we're leading down. Sometimes we're doing both. So yeah, I think part of that is us looking at those best practices that we're seeing, both on the production and on the IT side, and just saying, here's some ways we see you operating. Here's some ways you can be more efficient with that. Here's tools that we can provide, or you know, if we're not good in it, here's ways we see you could get better by using maybe one of the other partners that we're familiar with, or other tools that we know, to make sure leadership sees you're not alone, you're not in a silo, and those consistent problems can be addressed partially through some internal changes, maybe partially through resourcing up with the provider.
Typically, when we come into an environment, and I know this is similar, we're going to be very similar. Most of our first engagements is that assessment. It's an audit, right? We're learning everything about you. We come out of those, tons of recommendations. That leads into a relationship. Well, a lot of, if we're just operating at a technical level where you're just telling us all your problems, and then we're fixing your problems, that's cool. We've checked some boxes. Our most successful relationships are ones that are ongoing, and we're having conversations not just at the IT level. We are talking at leadership levels. We're understanding the vision of the church. We're understanding the things that the church are working on, and being able to advise well beyond it. Because, I mean, if you just tell me you need a hammer and I hand you a hammer, that's great, but maybe that wasn't actually the problem. We didn't fix the problem. We want to make sure that we're consulting with you properly.
Strategy.
Real strategy.
Over break fix. I can fix your Dante on Sunday.
Yeah.
That's not a strategy.
And if we are coming in to work with with you on the IT level, there's some benefit to making sure that we have the ability to meet with and build bridges with your leadership so that we can help champion the things that you need to get done, both from this consulting standpoint, but also to help you make your case in terms of why you need the help that you need to get the specific thing done as well. So that can be helpful to have that introduction, make sure there's a connection there.
Can we get another softball?
Mine might be. So I'm like 4 months into IT, and this is amazing to know you exist. It's like when I found out that pop stars don't write their own songs.
It's the best compliment. We got that on film, right?
I'm looking at 5 super capable people, and I'm just thinking about there's nothing saying what we have in place at Community Christian Church isn't great already. I'm just trying to understand it.
Yeah.
So my tendency would be to interview all 5 of you and see who fits the stack we currently have closest. Is there a quick way to get there, or I'm also curious about pricing.
Right.
That's what I heard. We haven't tried that.
This isn't a swipe right kind of a deal.
I know, right?
You can't buy us dinner though. You can buy dinner.
Here's what I would say to that is, we are all here. We all have booths out there.
Yeah.
We would all be honored to talk to you.
Okay.
We don't have a speed dating panel.
Right.
But I would highly encourage you to do exactly what you said. You should talk to all of us.
Yeah.
And you should get a feel. Because I will tell you, I don't do things exactly the same way that he does.
Yeah.
Or exactly the way that Higher Ground does. There's a reason we all exist in this space, and we're all helping lots of churches in this space. Because we do all have different strengths and weaknesses and areas of focus and things that we can do for you. So you should talk to all of us. That would be my advice.
Yeah. And don't rush it. To take your, I didn't realize there's 5 of us.
Yeah.
I mean, pick the best 3. I mean, but because what happens is if you don't do that, we are forever, I was joking earlier, but we talk about you because we're forever passing clients around. You know, people come to me and they say, we hate so-and-so. And I'm like, why? He's a good friend. Or maybe, okay, if you're having trouble and you don't feel, let me just call direct, let me help you maintain, because it's a waste of time and money to move if you don't have to move. So it's better to do that all on the front end than to get to the point where you feel that you got to bounce between us or leave our little group here and go to somebody else or go to somebody local or whatever. It's worth the effort so that you don't end up, talk about in CHMS, you don't want to be shopping that all the time. You don't want to be software schizophrenic. You don't want to be an MSP schizophrenic either.
Ditto.
He already asked.
I can put my ACS invoice up on the screen if you'd like.
That'd be fun.
Sorry, I had a real question.
Yeah, if nobody else has
someone else has a question, I can go
They're shy.
That
Go
was
ahead.
dinner we're buying.
We got 5 minutes left,
Okay.
5 minutes.
first. So, as someone who's not familiar with using an MSP, why would I choose an MSP that's not local? Does that matter? If it does matter, when?
So I was gonna tag on to his question, is sometimes choosing one is a regional conversation, right? If I'm looking at the 5 of us and you happen to be in the city where we're home, or we have a major operation, that probably helps narrow it down a little bit, because there are some advantages to that. I would say that it comes largely down to what we're doing for you. If you're expecting an MSP that's gonna come running in the door every time you have a problem, on an end user PC and is helping the user print, and you need it to be right there in the room, well, that's not really the most efficient use of our types of MSPs. But we are all very capable of helping you build out systems where literally a computer comes out of the box, you open it, the user signs in, and all of their stuff is just magically there. And we're able to remote support that computer and
How do you do that?
It's magic. I'm pretty
We'll
sure
show
you taught a
vendor
class.
right out here.
But learning, supporting network infrastructure, like all of these things that are sometimes holes and gaps in your ability to run things are exactly things that somebody can do from anywhere. And depending on the arrangement, I have clients, and client is here in Colorado Springs. I go out once a year. I'm there for a week. I'm meeting with leadership. I'm meeting with their production team leadership. We're talking about the projects they're doing for the year. You can be successful remote. It just depends. It's just if you're really wanting that hands-on thing, you kind of need someone local.
Some of that's culture, if your leadership team is used to going down the hallway and grabbing somebody and getting an instant fix versus waiting for a 15-minute callback, we don't have a way to do. I can send somebody to your site once a month. That's a cultural thing beyond us. When we lose people to local, it's mostly somebody's coming in and undercutting. Somebody local is a member of the church, ready to give you a good deal, and it doesn't last very long because they get overwhelmed, they grow, and the next thing you know, you're back to 5-hour response, that kind of thing. So it's more of a cultural discussion on, here's what we can save, here's the operational shift that saves this amount of money that goes back into direct ministry versus paying an FT, so I can go grab your phone or grab your you whenever you have a problem. It becomes a cultural discussion. From my perspective, we all have ways to resource you up where you don't need that. You don't need somebody that can come fix a printer or do the on-demand at the cost savings that leadership is going to want you to deliver. And it's reality versus expectation, right? Leadership wants to save a ton of money. Well, here's the expectation of saving. The reality is you got to wait 15 minutes for a phone call if you're having some kind of an issue that no one sitting around you can see.
And that's something that that's a leadership level discussion in terms of, especially if your culture is, we have somebody here that you can just go to, and if the choice is, well, we're going to change the way we do things, and we're not going to go down the hall anymore, you need to put in a ticket and get the call back, then your leadership needs to support that change and help champion that from the top down. Otherwise, that's a very difficult cultural shift to make internally. It can absolutely be done, but it's something that needs the support and backing and reinforcement until the change happens. And it's not always an overnight thing, because some people are just used to doing what they're used to doing. Everybody loves change, right? Only the change that they are driving. The change that somebody else drives is always the most difficult. If you are really gaining the ministry benefits from that and the dollars back in other areas, then it might be a change worth making. But it's not something that the IT department can usually be the driver of. It's got to be an organizational type change.
But you can build capital by continuing to mention that and mention the possibility, even if you don't do it now, because if you're leading that direction, when leadership comes, not every church is thriving. I hate to tell you that, but not every church in America, we get hey, we're in so much trouble, we can't afford to pay you anymore, but now what do we do? Because you provide something we need. If you're leading with that, then when your job comes on the table, because, hey, we're running out of money, you've set some capital in place and set some processes in place. It's, hey, we've been talking for years about this. What if we did this with a partner to change our cash flow situation? What if we did this to resource people up? If you hold on to this and you lead with it at the last minute, it may be too late depending on the health of your organization.
I think to tack onto that, what I would add is some examples of ways that we do partner and serve different churches. I think there's this concept that everybody thinks, okay, we're sending a body, like Chris said. Well, that only works if we're in your area, right? When you're in Colorado Springs or Anchorage, Alaska, or something like that, it's really hard for any of us to put somebody.
I have a guy at Anchorage.
Oh, that's true. Actually, I need to talk to you about that.
For all the Alaska churches represented.
Anybody from Alaska? Yeah,
There's your
go
guy.
ahead, Travis.
We have one, I'm just saying. The reason for saying that is for churches like that, a lot of times we partner with someone that is on staff or maybe a key volunteer that is what we call smart hands, right? And so we're able to work with them and they partner with us, but they do